Hi, this is for everybody. Today, we're going to be talking about the labor market testing, also referred to as the LMT. I'm sure many of you have heard about the LMT, but are not quite sure how the process actually works and what it is used for or who is it for. So today, we have our registered migration agent to help us out and help you answer some of the questions you may need the answers to. So, what exactly is the labor market testing and why is it required for employer sponsored visas in Australia?
Thank you, Jimmy. Hi, everybody. Labor market testing, in very simple words, it's testing the market. Now, if a business is not able to find an Australian citizen or an Australian permanent resident, then they have to resort to foreign workers. So, foreign workers can either be onshore or offshore. So, they are going to the market and trying to find a suitable candidate. So, there's a process, which is the labor market testing, and that process involves like advertising jobs, fulfilling the requirements of the department. So yeah, in short, that's how the labor market process looks like.
Now, are there any exemptions available?
So there are certain exemptions as per the legislative instruments in place. So if for example, if you are like a sports professional, or if you're in one of those categories where you have very outstanding excellence, so you get exemptions. Now, if you are also part of the International World Trade Organizations, a member country, so certain member countries get exemptions. Likewise, for like medical practitioners, also there are exemptions, and other exemptions are also there.
So, can you please explain a bit more about the core skills income threshold and the annual salary market rate?
So, in short, it's the CSIT, the core skills income threshold, and the annual salary market rate, ASMR. So, by provision of the relevant legislation and all, if a business wants to sponsor somebody through this labor market exercise, they must ensure that they pay the minimum of the CSIT. At the moment, the CSIT is around $76,000 annual income, and this doesn't include super. So you can by no means pass the labor market testing if you're going to pay your employee less than this amount. And it is also important to note that the annual market salary rate is also a metric that is being used by the department to see if an equivalent worker, for example, let's take an occupation of an ICT business analyst. Now, like I mentioned, the CSIT threshold is $76,000. But if the market shows that similar positions are getting, say, just for example purpose, getting 95,000, like the market shows that the annual salary rate for such occupations are much, much above the CSIT threshold set by the department. So then the businesses will also have to pay the equivalent salary at the market rate. Now, there are other ways to dictate this salary rate also. For example, the business has somebody who is working as the same example, ICT business analyst, say for his Perth office. Say the business is looking for his Brisbane office, a similar occupation. Say in Perth office that ICT business analyst is getting $95,000 annual, and that Perth-based person is like an Australian citizen or an Australian permanent resident. So when he's looking for the similar position at Brisbane office, he cannot pay less than what his Perth office equivalent Australian worker is getting. So basically, in short, now the labor market testing also takes into account that an overseas worker, by overseas again, it's like a foreign worker with temporary work visa. So they must also be treated at par with an Australian worker. So there should not be a gap between what an Australian worker would earn versus a non-Australian worker. So that's why it is important to understand that You just can't employ somebody at a salary rate which you feel is okay, but you have to fulfill the CSIT as well as the ASMR requirements.
Okay. So now, how does the LMT process look like? Can you please explain a few aspects such as the job advertisements, number of days is posted, and others?
So, as per the requirements, now labor market testing, how do we do it? So, you need to have job advertisements done. You just can't handpick somebody from the market. So, you need to have at least two advertisements done on like job platforms like Seek, Indeed, Career One, Jora. You can also do it in print media, like in national newspapers, on radio. But the most uh, appropriate channel is definitely the online job platforms like Seek, Indeed. So you do two advertisements, and you also have to run those advertisements for 4 weeks. Now, whether you do those in parallel or one after the other, it doesn't matter. But the requirement is that you have to do it for 4 weeks. You can't just do it for 2 weeks and say that I found a candidate. No, that doesn't work. And there are certain other requirements like you need to specify salary ranges, you need to specify the skills required for the job, you need to specify whether the job is full time. So these requirements have to be fulfilled to ensure that a successful LMT exercise is undertaken.
So, what are the most common mistakes employers make that lead to LMT non-compliance?
So not a lot of mistakes are done, but when a mistake is done, it is costly. So, for example, a mistake like not really looking at the market salary rate. For example, a business published a salary range of like 78,000 to 95,000 for an occupation which is like getting paid much higher in the market. So then it will create issues later on, even if the LMT has been successfully completed, because there's a mismatch in terms of what that occupation the other person's already employed are earning versus the job advertisement. Now, the other mistakes that sometimes occur is that the skills, the experiences mentioned in the advertisements are not really matching the ANSCOLA, the Australian and New Zealand Standard Classification of Occupations requirements, like a position has the required skills and experience. So the mismatch also happens because the business, for some reasons, are not familiar with the ANSCO classification. Most of them are, but some are not. So if you have some things that are not spelled clearly in those job advertisements, then those mistakes will lead to the refusal of the nominations later.
Can a visa be refused even if the candidate is highly skilled, but LMT was done incorrectly?
Yes, so basically, going back to the previous example, like if something went wrong with the LMT, now the way the whole thing is structured is that once the nomination is submitted, the visa applicant can also submit a visa application immediately after the nomination. That can happen. Or if you have enough visa, I mean, if you're on a substantive visa right now and you have enough visa, say your visa is expiring like in a year, and then you can wait for the nomination to be approved, then you can lodge the visa. But there are cases where somebody's visa is also about to expire. So as soon as the nomination is done after the LMT, the visa applicant also lodges the visa. So like Jimmy mentioned, that applicant might be having good skills, qualifications, work experience, and is a good fit for the role. But because of the same issues that were mentioned earlier, the LMT wasn't done properly as per the requirements of the department. So then the nomination itself can be refused, which obviously would trickle down to the either the withdrawal of the visa application or the refusal of the visa application if the visa application doesn't get withdrawn.
Now, as a registered migration agent yourself, I'm sure you've had many experiences with LMTs. So, how do you help out others with this process?
So, as a migration agent, I am aware of the policy and legislative requirements of how this labor market testing exercise has to be done. By the way, Also important to mention that labor market testing is an integral part of the skills in demand visa and the skills work employed regional provisional visa 494 visa. So for these two visas, it's a legislative requirement. So there's no way you can escape the labor market testing requirement. So my role as a migration agent is to help businesses understand the requirements of the department, because if you do not fulfill the requirements, then department will refuse the nomination. So I have dealt with a lot of businesses, different businesses are at different maturity levels. Some of them have gone through this process time and again, so they are aware. They're aware of how the job advertisement should be done, on what platforms it should be done, how to fulfill the requirement. But there are new businesses who are not aware of these requirements, and sometimes they feel that, oh, it's just a simple job advertisement that can be done, quickly, and they do it and then later realize that they have missed certain aspect. So my job is to help businesses get through this in a way that they are ensured that the nominations get approved, LMT is done properly. So if somebody is out there who feels that their businesses with whom they are working can help them get sponsored through such 482 or 494 visas, we are more than happy to help.
So thank you for this information, and I hope you all understood more about the LMT as I did as well, and the process of the job advertisement, how it's done, what the duration is, and all that. So that is it for the video today. Hope you guys enjoyed, and thank you all for watching. Thank you.
Thank you.